Hello everybody, today I'm going to attempt to solve this puzzle. This is black to move, and I will explain my thought process verbally, so I will emulate this as if I'm playing a real game. And after I have made my decision on what's the best move, and then I will show it on the board. So if you would like to solve this puzzle, you can on your own. You can pause this video right now. Okay, I'm going to start. Okay, this is black to move. The source of this puzzle I will put in the description below. So, the pawn on d3 seems to be overloaded by to protect both the knight and the bishop. So there could be something there, and then there's a check on knight e3. Another check on knight f4, and then there's also rook f2 check. But I don't see anything useful. So another very common theme of this puzzle is the sacrifice. So rook takes c4 could be one option. And then let's see. Okay, let's take a look. Rook takes c4. Pawn takes c4. So the purpose is to free up the square on e3. So the white knight can no longer take on e3. So my black knight can jump to e3. So rook takes knight on c4. Knight e3, check. There's only two options, king h2 or king g1. Okay, let's calculate the easier line, which is king h2, because I see a rook check on f2. So king h2, rook f2 check. Do we have the finishing move there? There's a queen takes g3 that looks to be this. Okay, it's not really over because the square on g2 is guarded by two pieces, the white knight and the white bishop. Okay, let's take a look once again. Rook takes c4, knight e3 check. King h2, rook f2 check. Oh, but the knight is also attacking the g2 square, so okay, if king g1, queen takes g2 check. Okay, let's say the bishop blocks on g2. Do we have a finishing move there? Okay, queen is on g3 and the rook is on f2. The bishop is on g2. What can we do now? There surely must be something. My dark square bishop is unable to join the party because it's blocked by the d4 pawn, but what if I go to e5, but the h2 square is guarded by the rook, so don't see anything there. How about my light square bishop? Can he join in the party? Okay, maybe it's the order of move. Rook takes knight on c4, pawn takes c4, knight e3, knight e3, check. If king g1, my queen can straight in, goes in. Queen takes g3, and with check, the bishop blocks on g2, and then there is queen f2, as the rook is not occupying that square. Queen f2, king h2. Oh, queen f2, queen h2, no. Queen f2, queen h2. There's also an idea of knight g4. Knight g4. Check. That could be an idea. No, I think I just have to get the move order correct. Okay, let's calculate one by one. Rook takes c4, pawn takes c4, knight takes e3. If this is the correct move, the queen, I mean the computer move would be just a queen takes knight, but most normal player would not do that because it's just straight away losing. Okay, let's see. After knight e3, check. Let's say king g 1, king g1, and then my queen just goes in, queen takes g3, check, bishop blocks, queen f2 check, king h2. Now my knight can jump to g4 with check. Let's see how that looks like. And then king h3 is the only move. Do we have a mate anyway? There is that discovery with the light square bishop. A discovery check. Surely that has to be made, but if my knight moves away, the h2 square is open up again. King h2. Oh, I've forgotten that the queen is on f2, but the pawn on g3 has been taken, so I can just go queen takes h4. Check. Okay, let's step back and then I will recalculate from queen takes g3 check, bishop blocks on g2, queen f2 check, king h2 the only move, knight g4 check, king h4, knight, let's say back to e3, a discovered check, king h2 is the only move, with the bishop blocking the queen check on g2, but now I have queen takes h4, so this could be a progress. Queen takes h4, the knight is on e3, So I'm not sure how much of a difference does that taking that pawn makes. Okay, takes that pawn. King backs on g1. Is there a mate somewhere? There should be, right? Oh. Maybe my black bishop, the dark square bishop, can really join in the party by bishop e5, because the pawn on g3 is no longer, it's already taken by the queen, and then that diagonal is freed up, and moreover, the knight on c4 is no longer protecting that square on e5, so I can just straight goes in. Okay, so let's step back and recalculate from the start. Rook takes c4. So this move does two purposes. Firstly, it frees up the square on e3. Secondly, it also frees up the square on e5. So the e3 square is for the knight to move in with check, and then the e5 will come to be useful, I think, in the later stage when we want to deliver a checkmate to the white king after removing the pawn on g3. So if you are still following me verbally, I will still show on the board later, just to show you what I meant. But I'm expressing my thought verbally so that I can emulate a real life games, so that it can be helpful towards my development in chess. Um, okay. Okay, let's step. Okay, now we have taken the knight. So pawn takes knight. If the pawn doesn't take, I'm just winning a piece here. So pawn takes knight. Now the knight moves in with check. Knight e3. If the queen takes e3, then we're just winning the queen with pawn takes e3. So knight takes e3. Let's calculate the easier line, which is king g1. It's easier because my queen can straight move into takes g3, and the queen on a3 is unable to take the queen on g3 because it's blocked by the knight on e3. Okay, so now after queen takes g3, king g1, the only move. No. The king is already on g1, so queen takes, they have to block with either the knight or the bishop. Okay, let's calculate the bishop first. Block with bishop on g2. So here I see we have queen f2 check. And then king h2, the only move. Can I go to bishop e5 directly? Yeah, bishop e5 is just a checkmate, right? Is there any way to block bishop e5? Okay, I think bishop e5 is just a checkmate. Okay, so this is one line. The second line is, which I haven't calculated, is what if the knight blocks? Does it change anything? So for example, knight g2. Firstly, it connects the rook, I think, but I'm not sure how how much is connecting the rook for white matters. Okay, let's say knight blocks. What move do I have? Let's say I still go to queen f2 check, king h2, the only move. And still bishop e5 check. Can the knight block? Yes. On f4. Bishop e5, knight blocks on f4. And then bishop takes f4. Is it a checkmate? Seems so. Okay, so I have calculated that variations. How about the other variations? Rook takes c4, pawn takes c4, knight e3, check. So instead of king g1, what about king h2? The difference is now I think the queen cannot straight away goes to take the g3 pawn. But I have rook f2 check. And another issue is that it's not so easy for my queen to go in. So takes the g3 pawn, but I have knight g4 check. So let's see how that looks like. Rook f2 check, knight, let's say bishop blocks. Let's calculate the bishop block first. The other block will be the knight block. Okay, bishop blocks. Now I have knight g4 check. If king h3, do I have a mate? Knight backs on e3. Then the king goes back on h2. I was thinking if there's some sacrifice idea on g3, you know, when let's say something like queen takes g3, king takes g3, and then bishop e5, check. But then the rook on f2 is unguarded. So the king can just take on f2. Oh. But no, the g1 square is empty. The g1 square is free for the king. Or is it? Okay, let's say knight e3 check, king h2, some idea pop up in my mind is that if I sacrifice on g3 with the queen, the king takes g3, bishop e5 check. It's almost a mate, except that the g2 square is not occupied by the bishop, so the king can just run away to g2. Or am I seeing a ghost piece here? It could be that I just mess up the move order somewhere. You know, sometimes it can be just straight queen takes g3 before the knight even jumps in with check, which is a crazy move. Oh, wait a second. Okay, let's calculate knight e3 one more time. Rook takes c4, pawn takes c4, knight e3, king h2 check, king h2, yes. Queen takes g3 first. Yeah, that's so cool. Okay, queen takes g3, king takes g3, and then bishop e5 checkmate, because all the square is guarded. That is so cool. My rook doesn't even have to go to f2, and in fact, if my rook goes to f2, the king can just take on f2. So, you know, an occupied square is not a guarded square. So, rook takes g3 is just so cool. Just double checking, make sure if I really cut this one. So knight takes c4 check, and knight takes c4, pawn takes c4, knight e3 check, because now the knight is guarding the g2, a very important square. If king g1 I have calculated, the queen just moves in and the rest just comes quite naturally, as what Carlson mentioned in his video. You don't even need to calculate that, but I did anyway, and it's not an easy one for me. Okay, but that line I have calculated, blocking with the knight and the bishop. And secondly, king h2 is just queen takes g3 and then bishop e5 is a checkmate, I believe, because the rook is guarding the f file. And then there's the two monstrous diagonal with the light square bishop on e6 and then another light square bishop on e5, another dark square bishop on e5. I believe that should be the checkmate. There's nothing that you can block the diagonal with. And the g2 square is guarded by the knights. So, okay, let's put this on the board, and then we will check whether this is the solution. Okay, so this is my idea. Takes. Yeah. Okay, let's calculate the faster line first, just to show you. Takes. King takes, and this is just a checkmate. Yes, because this, and this. So the king is just shafted, as Ginger GM would describe it. Okay. Interestingly, the more interesting line will be, yeah, after takes King G1. I found this harder to calculate, honestly, because after Queen takes, let's say the Bishop blocks. My idea was Queen F2. King H2. Actually, I can just go here and checkmate, right? Yeah. I was calculating the whole line of knight here and King H3, knight G4, King H3, and I completely missed. I'm seeing a ghost pawn, a ghost white pawn on here. Then that's why probably it was so difficult for me. But when I put it on the board, it seems pretty obvious. So, but that's always how it goes. It's not so easy to calculate it in your head first before looking at it directly on the board. So, but that's how real game is supposed to be. Okay, let's say knight blocks here. What can we do? It's the same move. Then Bishop E5 again, and then this is also a mate because this knight is pinned, so can't even block it. And even if it can, I just take with the bishop, and it's a checkmate too. So, and I guess another line would be just to ignore taking this and somehow guarding the G3 square maybe. This is very computer-rich move, and I'm winning a piece anyway, so don't really care about it. Maybe rook here, or just rook here. And after pawn takes, maybe this is his only alternative, but I guess I'm just winning this easily with a queen up. One queen, two pieces, two rook, two white rook, one black rook, and one black queen. So I believe that's the solution. So let's check Stockfish whether that's the best move. And here we go. Yes, of course it is. Rook G1. Yeah, very computer move. So how does this solve? Yeah, it opens up the H1 square and then just guard the G3 square. Very computer move, and then just goes back to safety. So the more interesting line takes. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, of course it is a take. Yeah. Okay, let's say here. Boom! Get shafted. And then the other line will be this one. Same. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm glad I found this one. The star move here would be the sacrifice queen, the sacrifice of queen takes G3. I know some players might find this puzzle really easy, but I'm really happy that I solved this on my own. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in next video.